Mama, I'm scared. Little Cecil's sandpaper voice came at her from the gathering darkness. She flinched, looked at him, her eyes wet. The poor child. It wasn't fair. He had seen things, such horrible things, been through more pain and terror than most people 10 times his age. He was only 5. Again, from across the single room of the dilapidated shack she had chosen for their home. Mama, I'm scared. A sniffle. They're coming. Ain't they, Mama? Them mad men are coming for us. In the dim light of the room she could barely see more than the whites of little Cecil's big brown eyes. His papa's eyes. She swallowed loudly, fidgeted with the bottom of her ragged dress. They're coming, she whispered. But don't you worry none, baby. I ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. In the quiet of the night she could hear his stomach growl. It broke her heart. I don't understand why they hate us so bad, Mama, he said, with that knowledge far beyond his years that always made her so proud. We ain't never hurt nobody. No, honey, she replied. Not us. He scooted closer to her in the dark, the bark of his rotten chair sounding too loud on the hardwood floor below. She hissed through her teeth, and her heart started beating a little faster, but she did not scold him. In the distance, past the chorus of crickets just beginning their nocturnal song outside, she could hear them coming. Closer. The bad men. And a few women, too. With their torches, their crosses, their off-white hoods and cloaks to hide their hideous bigot faces. She shifted in her seat, balled her slender hands into fists. She wondered if these were the same men who had killed Uncle Virgil and Aunt Emma last week, or maybe the ones who set fire to the cross out front of Cousin Reese's new house, only for the flames to spread across his lawn, quickly turning to ash everything he had worked so hard to build. Reese and his wife and precious baby Sarah, a mixing of the races their side had deemed unholy. Self-righteous bastards. She gnashed her teeth, swore she'd see them all in hell. She sometimes wondered if they didn't realize they had lost the war, or perhaps they did know. They just refused to acknowledge the fact. Payback time, that one hillbilly with the birthmark on his face and the Confederate flag on his cap and the rot-gut rye on his breath had cackled evilly as he slaughtered little Cecil's poor papa. String him up! She remembered it as if it had happened only yesterday, though Cecil was merely a toddler then. Remembered that vile, laughing man with his redneck war cries and his misguided views of the Lord's work. I can hear 'em, Mama, Cecil said now, and suddenly he was in her arms. She exhaled sharply beneath his weight, could feel his tears upon her bosom and his frantic heartbeat pounding in sync with her own. They're getting closer. Shouldn't we go now, Mama? She held him tight as she watched the sun complete its fiery descent beyond the great Smoky Mountains. Yes, she said, softly. Any minute now. He didn't argue. He never did. Little Cecil knew the routine. The night grew darker. The chill grew colder, and the voice of the mob grew louder. Across the valley she could see the angry glow of their torches. She could make out specific words and phrases now as they drew closer. Racial slurs, epithets, cruel names they had chosen long ago for her people. Words that hurt even more than the clan's cheap array of weapons. Weapons like crucifixes, plundered from local churches, or more often than not just 2 crooked oak branches nailed together in haste. Garlic, grown in abundance in their own sloppy gardens behind white trash trailers and shanties. Holy water, blessed by a priest who sometimes traveled with them, carried in flasks made from the bellies of their prey. She took a deep breath now, wiped her eyes. "You ready, honey?" He looked up at her, nodded but said nothing. How he loved his mama. She was so pretty in the wash of the moon through the window. She stood. He stood. Their eyes locked. Cecil smiled. And then the change began. Leathery bat wings burst forth from olive flesh. A bit of pain, but not too much, as bones popped and snapped and shrank, as teeth grew to curved razor fangs, and the frightened voices of mother and son, the hunted, transformed into the high-pitched squeals of night hunters. They took to the air as one, two soaring silhouettes against the night's full moon, one considerably larger than the other, but both with the same burning crimson eyes. Searching eyes. Hungry eyes. The eyes of monsters, some would say. God-damned fang heads who didn't deserve to live, who ought to just go back where they came from. And so they did. Mother and son. They left that place. But first there was the matter of finding food, sustenance, then a new place to stay before dawn.